Khatam Nabiyyin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a be open and sound witness that nothing is worthy of worship except Allah is one alone, with our partners and associates, and also give open and sound witness that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a slave, servant, messenger, and seal of the prophets. Peace be upon the Prophet, upon his descendants, upon his companions, upon the righteous throughout the world, and peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. Dear beloved Muslim, we are always thankful to Allah, highly glorified as He for once again allowing us to unite for this special day, the day of Jumu'ah, or this time of the day, Salat al-Jumu'ah, by which we come to praise Him, to seek His aid, His guidance, to pray for His forgiveness, and most of all, to ask for His mercy, because He tells us that His mercy supersedes everything. In fact, every surah except one begins with that attribute. We say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. When we talked last week in Jumu'ah, we talked about Rabb. We talked about this attribute that is all throughout the Quran that relates to developing life. We said this is the first of the names of how Allah introduced Himself to the world, Rabb. You know the first revelation, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your evolver. And you say every day in Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It's a very, very powerful attribute as it relates to developing, not just creating, but He's developing. That's why this attribute is so important, as much as all of them are. After creating this life, Allah says He's now developing. And there's no greater influence anyone can be under consciously than being under Rabbil Alameen. He's the one who's taking you from stage to stage. He's taking you from infancy, from immaturity, social immaturity, financial insecurity, emotional insecurity. Some people are not strong enough emotionally. Emotional insecurity. So that you can grow into this developing being who understands that they have in them the capacity to now contribute. So He develops you, He creates you, He develops you, and then He gives you what you need to make your contribution to life. All you have to do is look throughout the creation. Everything that is there has been assigned for some purpose. You know, one of the greatest forms of charity is seen in the relationship we have with plant life. The very breath of life is dependent upon some other form of life. So as we breathe in life, that life we breathe in helps to sustain our life. And after the process of what we breathe goes and it takes place, then we exhale, we breathe out, and what we breathe out contributes to life. So the greatest sense of charity is seen in how we are connected to plant life. You cannot live without breathing in the oxygen that comes from the vegetation on planet Earth. So Allah Himself, He creates the life. He's Al-Khaliq. Then He develops the life. His Rabb, He's taking you from the smallness, letting us know that we can't remain in smallness. If we remain in smallness, we will not be strong enough to make the contribution to life. That's why Rabb is so important, for you to understand what is taking place. He's evolving you from your smallness, from infancy, from immaturity, from weakness, so you can come to a state of strength and power so you can make your contribution to life. He's right. We ended with that ideal of talking about here's the evolver who's taken us through all of these stages of darkness. We talk about the Quran being revealed to Muhammad the Prophet that he may lead the people from the depths of darkness into the light. See? By the permission of the Rabb. That's how the verse ends. This is taking place by the permission of the one who's allowing the human being to shift. Not just from darkness that you can't see, but from oppression. That's the word that dhulima, the word that is used in that verse, doesn't have to do with particularly the darkness in the world, but it has to do with the oppression in the world. That man is oppressed financially. He's oppressed socially. And just as much as Allah has allowed Bilal, who was oppressed in the land, allowed the one that was weighed down from social environments. You know they put that big boulder on Bilal? The average human being would have folded. Because they just can't handle social pressure. The weight of the world wipes people out. But Allah says He's developing you. Rabb is moving you from weakness to power. And if you serve in Allah, you must represent power. He said, those who we establish them with power in the land will make the salat, will give the zakat, they will enjoin the right and forbid the wrong. Here's a powerful verse that Allah wants you to have power. You have to have social power. You can't operate in the world as a servant of Allah and be weak. If you serve Allah, you must manifest power. So he said, those who, if we give them power in the land, whether it's political power, economical power, social power, financial power, whatever kind of power you assume, which is the ability to influence. That's power. Power is the capacity and the ability to influence. Allah wants you to have influence. Don't you know that? How can you serve Him and you have no influence? Our whole mission as we follow Muhammad the Prophet is to deliver the message. And the message is designed to influence people to a better way of living. So he said, those who we establish them with power in the land. Here's the key now. He gave you power. He gave you influence. He gave you the capacity to interact with people and get things done. That's power. But that power must be with an awareness, because absolute power will corrupt. If the human being is given too much power, that power will lead to oppression that we've been talking about. So he said, now he wants you to have power, but there's a certain kind of power. He said, those who we establish in the land with power, what they do first, they make the salat. That means with their power, they're still conscious. They don't allow their power to make them lose the connection with Allah. There's accountability. I got this, Allah, you blessed me, and I'm accountable for what you blessed me with. Because if you get the power and you disconnect from Allah, then that power will become abusive. All you have to do is look in society, you can see it. People with no conscience of Allah have power, they wrong people. They abuse people. You look at police officers, they kill people unjustifiably, they abuse people. Got power now, powerful. But I don't feel accountable for this power. So he said, those who, if we establish them with power in the land, they will not lose the connection with me. This is what Allah said. They will not lose the connection. This is why they make the salat. The salat keeps us connected to Allah. And not only do they make the salat and stay connected to Allah, those who, if we give them power in the land. So he said, if by chance you got the power, you will stay connected to Him through the salat, and then you will stay connected to others by what? Paying the zakat. So now I have social sensitivities. I feel for other human beings. I have power. I'm connected to Allah through Salat. Now I'm connected to other human beings. I feel for another human being. I empathize with another human being. I care for another human being. And that care, that empathy is seen through giving the zakat. So those who, here's the verse, if we establish them with power in the land, will not lose their connection. Because once you lose your connection with Allah, you can find yourself in all kinds of situations. The salat is so important. You just have to look at the salat beyond merely ritualistic movement. When you hear the adhan, it is a call to the connection with the source of life. It's so important that Allah says through Muhammad the Prophet, and Bilal gave to us, Hayya ala salat. You know what Hayya means? Hayya means lively, with a drive, because you understand what this movement is going to do for you. Hayya ala salat. The salat is getting your spirit right. It's getting your spirit right because you're connected to your source. And the movements you make, it gives some regulation you can follow. And then when you bow down to Allah, He lifts you up. If you bow down to anything else other than Allah, it will take you down and put you in bondage. It will go back to this verse about the man, back to the oppression. So we have to get into the birth position. We have to remain in the birth position, and the birth position is in our mind of being in sajda. I'm bowing to Allah, and as I bow to Him, He lifts me up socially. When I submit to my will to Him, I'm submitting to Akbar. He allows us as human beings to grow in the greater degrees of greatness as a human being. See, if Allah is Akbar, if He's the greatest and you submit to the greatest force, then you have to realize your greatness as a human being. And you move beyond smallness. See, smallness says you don't care about giving to the needy. Smallness means you don't concern yourself with the less fortunate. Smallness means that you don't give because you believe that as you give, you will lose. Because you don't understand that zakat itself means to increase. The word zakat means to purify, to grow, and to increase. So in the Quran, Allah connects zakat to your soul. And He succeeds who purifies his soul. Because aflaha min zakat. He prospers who gives the zakat. Because as he gives the zakat, as she gives the zakat, it rids you of miserliness, stinginess. It removes greed from your spirit. It removes stinginess, believing this ideal that if I give, I'm going to go into a state of lack. We don't live in a world of lack. We live in a world of supreme abundance. They give this picture that some people, they go to the ocean and they got a small little cup. It's nothing but an abundance of water. You can go to the ocean with buckets and pails. But some people, because of their smallness, go with the cup. We live by the grace of Allah in a world of abundance, lacking in nothing. Have you seen any lack? Allah gives us plenty. So if He gives us plenty, and we understand that He told us that if you have power, you feel obligated to share your power with other people. financial power, economic power, because without those means of power, you can't affect change in the world. And if you don't have, then you have to develop enough will to say, I'm dissatisfied with not having. Why? Because dissatisfaction produces change. That's what produces change. Until you become dissatisfied with your state, your life will never change. So Allah says, verily never will he change the condition of a people until they change it themselves. He gave you power. You understand that's power right there? Verily never will Allah change the condition of a people until they change it themselves. He gave you power. That means that we have to see ourselves as effectual beings. Like in effect, that your life should affect and produce change. If we are effectual beings, then everything we do is about creating better conditions where life can grow. So he said, those who, if we establish them with power in the land, will make the salat. Because they understand what the salat is doing for their soul. They understand what the salat is doing for their life. Regulation, discipline, structure, social life. See, all of this is tied into salat. Even as we make salat alone. Muhammad the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the salat in congregation is 27 degrees more superior than the salat you make by yourself. About being an effectual being, about being a social being, interacting with people. That's power. So he said they make the salat, and then they don't just make the salat and stay within their own little world. They make the salat and they feel. See, it's very important that you feel for another human being. And you realize that the enemy of man, Shaitan's whole objective is to make you and I cold and numb, not caring for other human beings. That is the mission of the enemy of man. The mission of the enemy of man, of the human being, is to make you insensitive, not wanting to give anybody anything. I got mine, and you get yours the best way you know how. That's the thinking of the devil. But Allah says they make the salat, and then they move from the salat and they give the zakat. That means here's people with power who recognize they must assist those who need help. Why? Because zakat is a tool for social improvement. That is the very purpose of the zakat, to improve lives. That's the business Muslims are in. We're in the business of improving lives, making conditions better so life can grow. So he said, those who, if we establish them with power in the land, will make the salat, will pay the zakat, and then they will enjoin what is right and forbid what's wrong. That's a big one right there. That's a big one. To promote good living. To promote doing the right thing. That's what righteousness is all about. Righteousness is about doing the right thing. It's not a complicated situation. Everything about this Quran is for social improvement. It's not about a bunch of rituals. It's not about just you being involved in going through your personal affairs. That's why they even came to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and asked the Prophet. Not they asked him, they went to the Prophet telling him the admiration they had for the man who he prayed. Very spiritual man. Always stayed in the masjid. Fasted during Ramadan. Very nice, decent man. But Muhammad the Prophet ﷺ asked the question after hearing the admiration, the great respect they had for the man who was engaged in the process of the personal life, making prayer, standing in the masjid, fasting in Ramadan. And the Prophet said, then who feeds him? And they said, we do. Then the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, then you're better than him. See, because here's a man who's not even engaged in production. That's why I said those who, they make the salat, but then they pay the zakat. See, they can't even pay the zakat if they're not productive. I hope you follow what I'm saying to you now. To really give in the zakat, you got to produce. That's why Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, no descendant of Adam can enjoy a better meal than the one he earned with his own hands. There's no greater form of dignity than you producing for yourself. And even when the zakat is given, it's only given so you can strengthen yourself to go do for yourself. You've heard the saying before that if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach that man or woman how to fish, then you feed them for a lifetime. So you're teaching a skill. You're helping them to move beyond dependency. See, even when the zakat is not established to produce dependency, it is given to strengthen the person so now they're strong enough to go out and make a way for themselves. So Allah says He wants you to have power. Those who if we establish them with power in the land, will make the salat, pay the zakat, and they will enjoy what's right and forbid what's wrong. You know the verse in Allah in the Quran where Allah shows us what righteousness is? It is not righteousness that you turn your face east or west. But it is righteousness that you believe in Allah, His messages in the book, and that you spend out of love for Him for your kin. And then it goes on, then it says, for the freeing of the slave. See, righteousness has to go beyond your own little personal interests. Righteousness has to go into you engaging yourself in helping other people to make life better. So that now they're aware of their role to contribute. That when you contribute to them, they understand their capacity and their role to contribute to other people. So the verse clearly says, those who, if we establish them with power and land, if Allah gives you power, He says they will not lose the connection. That's all I want to give you. Don't lose the connection. Don't lose the connection with Allah, and don't lose the connection with other people. Because the mission of Shaitan, that's why there's so much corruption in the world, because people don't feel the need to forbid the wrong. They're enjoying it, right? But they don't believe they have the capacity and the power to forgive the wrong because it doesn't seem popular. That's why Muhammad the Prophet said, when you see it wrong, you change it, you work to change it with your hand. And if you feel you're not able to change the wrong you see with your hands, then at least speak out against the wrong. And if you feel you're not strong enough to speak out against the wrong, then he said, feel a dislike in your heart for the wrong, but that is the weakest of faith. See, your faith is about you being engaged in creating conditions where life can be better. But now for the day, most people see speaking out involved in some type of activity to change states to be unpopular. And that's why wrong, that's why ignorance, as we talked before, how ignorance reproduces itself. Look at the behavior of people. It just reproduces itself and people just see it and it's all right. We've accepted almost anything in America. Yeah, in America, almost anything goes. Everything is what they call a new normal. I talked to you that before. A new normal. Now, if you look at that, very dangerous term, new normal. They told us that homosexuality is a new normal. All the so-called sex changes are a new normal. It's something new. How can what's normal, right, become new? It's normal means it's already in effect. A new normal means that society, those in the positions of influence, we talk about power now. I told you before about power. Those with the capacity to influence thought have conditioned people to say, well, look, that's their business. Here's the new normal. This is what we accept. This is how life is now. And the so-called ideal of a new normal, see, if it's normal, it's not new, it's always been happening. But a new normal means that society says now, today, these are the things we accept to be normal. Not what Allah says. This is what we say is new. These are the standards we're going to establish. And we're going to push them so much that you will be forced to accept it. And if you don't, you'll feel uncomfortable. That's why you can't use certain words. People start whispering. They start whispering certain words. See? Because they've established themselves in such a way that they will make you feel uncomfortable saying anything that's against what they feel they've established as a new norm. This is serious now. That's why the verse says that he gave them power, they'll make the salat, they'll pay the zakat, and they will enjoy what's right, and they'll forbid what's wrong. Whether it's popular or unpopular, we should be about forbidding what is wrong. And as Muhammad the Prophet said, we should at least speak out against it. That's the second stage of you affecting change. That you speak out against the wrong, but if you just feel a dislike in your heart, that right there, my friend, is the weakest form of faith. Because we've been conditioned not to engage. See, when you give the zakat, that means you're engaging in the affairs of making life better. But when we just feel it in our hearts and don't say anything or don't do anything, we can't affect any change. And the life of the believing Muslim must be about affecting change wherever they go. And we can do that. When the revelation came to Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we talked earlier, equal to Bismi Rabbika al-Khaliq, that first word, that first revelation, the revelation itself produced or started a revolution. You know the revolution ain't all I got to go get the guns, I got to get the stick. Revolution has everything which you working to produce change. How the change comes about, that's a different subject. But the whole idea of a revolution is things are evolving, things are changing, not remaining the same. It's like the revolving door. It shifts. And when the revelation came, when the process began with Iqra, that's what's lacking in the world right now. The world is still operating in a sense of not reading all the signs in creation. You don't even read the signs. Allah tell you there's signs all throughout the creation. All these ayat, don't pay attention. They see all these symptoms. That's why you watch your body. That's why the doctor watch your body. They look through your body. They look in your eyes. They're looking for all these symptoms because these symptoms are going to tell them about something that is taking place in your body. These situations we see are nothing but symptoms of a deeper problem. And most people don't pay attention to the symptoms. And when you don't pay attention to the symptoms, then over time, the symptoms become worse. The symptoms begin to grow. Then the symptoms become unmanageable. And when the symptoms become unmanageable, it gets to a higher level of disease. Yeah. And when it gets to a higher level of disease, it causes supreme and serious problems in the world. And the condition that Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in, those conditions warranted burying baby girls alive, running and walking around the Kaaba nude, gangs, killing people, slavery, all kind of immorality, pride themselves in ignorance, eating flesh. Those conditions warranted revelation. They were so deep in the depths of darkness, Allah had to send Muhammad. He had to raise the prophet with this revelation that ignited a worldwide revolution that changed the world as we live today. But you'll see that the world now is regressing. They're going backwards. We started off in a garden. And because of that will, because of the appetite, because of the sick thinking, the strange behavior, it has produced some major problems for the world. But when Allah sent Muhammad the Prophet with this revelation, it ignited a worldwide revolution, and it showed us what was possible. Now, with the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they was able to transform that world. And the message traveled all over the world. Where now these human beings who were classified as indecent, immoral, problematic, they became torchbearers. They became the shaheed, those who were witness bearers of decent character. Those who were witness bearers of life, of contribution to the world. This revelation ignited a mighty revolution that changed not only the way people saw the world, but the way they saw themselves. They saw themselves as valuable beings. How they saw Allah, they didn't see Allah as idols. People today stopped seeing their faith in vehicles and things and drugs. They changed the way they looked at themselves and how they related to the creation. So it said, Iqra, one word. Change how human beings connect to the creation. Revelation inspires revolution. And all over the world you see oppressed people, people being dealt with unjust. They got to rise up in revolt against the darkness that we talked from the very beginning of the Dule man. They got to rise up against that. They have to rise up against these new normals that's indoctrinating young children. They can't choose, is that a man or a woman? You indoctrinate a child and two men in a relationship is raising a little boy. You create a problem. So the boy got to look around and find, how do I identify with a man? That becomes the new normal that causes major problems in the world. So the revelation, if we understand it properly, must inspire change. And if we grasp this revelation and see its power, we will be just like Allah said. He said the promise, Allah's promise to those of you who believe and do good, that he will make them rulers in the earth as he made rulers of those before them. And a ruler has power. We said the verse says, and those who, if we establish them with power in the land, they make the salat, they pay the zakat, they enjoy what's right, and they forbid what's wrong. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. There's a very interesting verse in the Quran where it says about a call. It talks about a call. And I want to read this verse as we conclude. It talks about a call. See, there's all kind of calls being made in society. The call to life, the call to death, the call to war, the call to drugs, the call to addiction, the call to oppression. There's all kind of calls. We're going back to Rob. We said we've been teaching on Rob. Rob, the one who's building you up, taking you from stage to stage. That's the power of that attribute. That Allah is allowing you to shift again from smallness to power, from weakness to strength, from darkness to enlightenment. He's allowing you to graduate. So Rob is the nurturer. And the nurturer gives you what you need. The nurturer gives you the nutrients that you need. When you think of nourishment, you think of nutrients, you think of nutrition. And you look all throughout the world, you'll see there's so much malnourishment. I don't just mean physical malnourishment. People are lacking in love, people are lacking in decency, people are lacking in feeling, people are lacking in enlightenment, people are lacking in awareness, people are lacking in forgiveness. They are deficient, therefore they can't grow as a well-balanced, healthy human being. So Rob is the one that is giving you what you need to grow and evolve. So the verse is, our Rabb, our evolver. We have heard the call of one calling us to faith. Believe you in your evolver, and we have believed. Our evolver, forgive us our sins, blot out from us our iniquities, and take to yourself our souls in the company of the righteous. That's a powerful verse. It says, our evolver. We have heard the call of one calling us, not just to faith, but this word Iman is, he's calling us to security. I want you to understand this now. Because that's what faith is. See, faith is, you strong in your faith, that means you're secured in your spot. When you hear a person say they got faith, that means that person totally believes in that process. We've heard the call of one, not calling us to doubt, not calling us to fear. We've heard the one who called us to Iman, faith, and as a result of that call, we believe. See, because when you believe, there's so much you can do. I remember before they made the remakes of the movie, I remember before it was the ideal of Mission Impossible. And the whole idea of Mission Impossible was it was these events and situations that people believe it wasn't possible to break through. You can't do that. You can't overcome that challenge of people moving the world with doubt and insecurity. But if Allah gave us Muhammad the prophet example of what he did, he's letting us know it's possible for us if we believe. So the verse says, we've heard the call, not calling us to drugs, not calling us to indecency, but calling us to a secured life. That's what Iman is. We've heard the call of one calling us to security. We don't want to be weak. We can't be a community representing Allah manifesting weakness. We have to be a community representing strength and power. Because insecure people are vulnerable for the schemes of Shaitan. Yet insecure people are vulnerable for the schemes of the enemy of man. Because Shaitan is not an enemy of Allah. Shaitan is an enemy to man. And if you're not strong enough emotionally, if you're not strong enough spiritually, you're weakened and now you are vulnerable for the attacks, for the schemes of the devil himself. So we've heard the call of one calling us to Iman. And it said, believe you in your evolver, and we believe. That's what we got to get. We got to get to this point of believing. We got to get to this point of having a secure life. That's why the verse in the Quran that says, and this city made secure. And this city made secure. Balad, I mean a city of security. That when the revelation came, it worked to make that city secure. I remember a time I could walk down the street all times of night. Wouldn't do it today. I walk around in some cities, I see people living behind bars in their homes. On their windows, they got bars. Now, most of those people not thinking you're on the second floor, you got bars on your window, something happened, there's a fire, you stuck. See, now the criminals got them living behind bars in their homes. See, that's an insecure city. And we have to work to make the city secure so life can grow. People not living in fear. There was a time when people lived like that. There was a time you go in certain countries, you go in Saudi Arabia, you leave your car running. That's not a big deal. Because I remember when I can go outside and a person went in the store in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and their car was running. When they came outside, the car was still there, but people just got away from that. You know, when I was in Saudi Arabia, me and a friend I met, a brother named Bot, he from Turkey, we go see his uncle. He pulls up, park his car, leave the car running, go inside, drink a little tea, have a little good time, come back, that car is still running. But I've seen that in the USA. That's not a big deal. I've seen that here, all over the place. That's when people was more concerned for other people's possession. They had a little more consciousness of other people's property. But it doesn't mean that we can't get back there. See, when Allah gave us the example of Muhammad the Prophet, he showed us what is possible. If the Prophet, we talk about the Prophet Muhammad, they turn this around. If the Prophet did, Allah said, if you follow Muhammad the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then it's possible for you. Why would Allah give you the example of Muhammad the Prophet if it wasn't a possibility for you to do it? That's why the testimony is so important. I told you about the testimony. That's why the before and after is so important. You see all the before and after, the person had 150 pounds, 90 down to 60 pounds, 75 pounds, 80 pounds, 90 pounds. See, the before and after is showing you it's possible for you. And Al-Islam does that. Al-Islam is allowing us to be the witness bearer, showing people what is possible of how you can transform your life. You can go from being broke. You can go from being in poverty. You can go from being a criminal. You can go from being a drug addict. You can go from being a prostitute. You can go from anything and rise up and be the model of what it means to be a decent human being. See, because if you look at the Quran, Allah uses the disadvantaged. He used those who had struggles and challenges of how they overcame. People are more inspired by those who overcome. Don't you know that? People are more inspired by the testimony of what you've been through, not what you've been giving. They want to know what you've been through. Because what you've been through shows power, strength, and credibility. You're not just talking, you've been through something. So Allah used those who've gone through something. I want to leave you with this. He used those who've gone through something to help those who are going through something. If you're going through something, find someone who has already went through what you've gone through and they can help you. Oh yeah, he used those who've gone through something to help those right now who are going through it. So Muhammad the Prophet was able to take this revelation and ignite a revolution, change. You and I can do the same thing. We can be these effectual beings who affect change in society. Because that's the whole mission of all the prophets, is to deliver the message. And the message is designed to produce change that people can shift from one state to another. So Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the best of you is he who is most useful to society. See yourself as a tool working for the renovation and elevation of man. See yourself as a tool of building life up. That's what tools are for. Tools are designed to get something done. See yourself as a tool working for the elevation of the human being. And we can do it. The Quran says, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ. And when comes the help of Allah and the opening. See, the victory is an opening. Allah will open a way for you. He said he'll make a way for you where you thought there could never be a way. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah,